Oregon would have to play an extremely poor game. Because, I mean, I watch every Oregon game. I am on the sidelines for almost every Liberty game at home. And I'm just not seeing how I've had trouble adding 2 plus 2 together and equaling 4 to Liberty winning. I mean, it'd have to be a very, very poor outing by Liberty. They'd have to have a very uninspired effort. They'd have to have a lot of turnovers. And I just haven't seen that from Oregon all year. So yeah, I'm rooting for Liberty, but I'd just be happy with a cover.
Yeah, just don't get killed out there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty massive talent discrepancy between those two teams.
I'm wondering if Bo's going to play. That's what I'm
He
still
is.
curious
Yep.
about. He is.
No, he is playing. Yep. And that's what, like, if Bo wasn't playing, especially since Ty Thompson, actually the backup, transferred, they'd be playing a true freshman in Austin Novosad, and then things could be a little bit interesting. But the fact
Right.
that Bo's playing, Bucky Irving's playing, their best defensive player, Brandon Dorless, is playing, means that the seniors decided, hey, we want to come back and play in the Fiesta Bowl and finish the season off. Despite the disappointment of losing the Pac-12 championship and not making the playoffs, we want to finish it off and win this. Just shows that I believe Oregon's going to show up, and I mean, just to break it down, like at the line of scrimmage, Oregon's very good at the line of scrimmage. Liberty's not. Their defensive line is pretty average, to be honest with you, even for Conference USA. They did not get a bunch of pressure even in conference. They actually, I think, were like fifth, and there's only 9 teams in Conference USA at sacks and quarterback hurries and negative plays. Most of their defense was based around being very opportunistic in the defensive backfield. They had a pretty good defensive backfield. Kobe Singleton, the Bolden kid that actually ended up transferring to Colorado is a good player. Reese, they have some good secondary guys, but they have to get pressure on Knicks, and they haven't done it in Conference USA. So I just don't know how they're going to be able to do that against one of the better offensive lines in college football. And then probably to get pressure, they'd have to bring an extra man, which is going to leave the middle of the field open. I think Terrence Ferguson, the all Pac-12 tight end. Think Bucky Irvin, Jordan James. I just think they're going to have really hard time stopping them. Now, I do think Jimmy Call is a very, very good play caller. Caden Salter is a really dynamic player. He is going to probably be able to do some things with his feet. I think he could probably make some plays down the field. They might be able to run the ball pretty good. Like Liberty on offense is pretty good. Like they have a good offensive line. Uh, um, Cooley and Lucas are two solid backs. CJ Daniels is one of the best receivers in the group of five. Two solid tight ends, Hanshaw and Henderson. Uh, I think they will be able to, and I still think Oregon's defense, while very much improved, they obviously showed in their 2 losses to Washington that you probably still can get him with a good quarterback play and some dynamic skill guys. Um, I just don't think they're going to be able to get him enough. I just see this being like a 38 to like 14 at halftime. Then maybe Oregon just like sits all the starters, and then it ends up rounding out to I don't know 48 to 31, something like that, and that maybe gives them a cover. So I think it's going to land at about 17 and a half. But I that's kind of what my hope is. Like I said, I'd love if Liberty could pull off this upset, finish undefeated. It's just a huge accomplishment for the program, and they're going to be good next year. Like they'll be one of the favorites for the automatic bid in the playoff because of they're returning Salter and Daniels and a lot of these good skill guys in offense. So I mean, Liberty's gonna be good next year. So it'd be nice for them to show, hey, we're competitive. And by the way, Miller Moss, jeez, he's having a
Did
heck
it
of a
again.
he's having a heck of a game. Yeah, so that's kind of my rundown on it of how I think things are gonna go.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
I agree with all that. I mean, without knowing the Liberty roster like you do, I certainly know the Oregon one, and I think you hit the nail on the head. If Liberty tries to spy Nix or does anything that's going to leave the middle of the field open, they're going to get eaten alive by both backs and Ferguson. I think Oregon showed this year, like, if there is a talent gap between them and whoever they're playing, they just
Yeah,
bury you. Like
yeah,
they play murder ball with all the Pac-12 teams that they had this huge talent gap over, and just came up short twice when there was relative you know mismatches at the skilled position that I don't think Liberty is going to have at wide receiver. Um, and then there's still so many players that are not opting out of this game for Oregon. I think Troy Franklin's really the only one of note that's not going to play in this game, and I don't think they're going to need him.
Jackson Powers Johnson, the Remington award-winning center, he's not playing either.
Not playing.
But yeah, you made a good point. I was looking at, like, when they have a significant talent advantage under Dan Lanning, I believe they are. Yeah, I think it's like 21, and the only team they lost to in his 2 years that they didn't have that was not as talented a team was that Oregon State loss, where Oregon State came back by like 21 in the fourth quarter. But other than that, their losses have been to Washington and Georgia, and every other team that they have been more talented than. Not only have they beaten in the 21 victories, I think other than like 3 games, 18 of them were by double digits. And in a lot of cases by like 20 plus points.
The Top 25 Rundown, every Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, here on the Sportscast.